U.S. women's national soccer team needs to score more on the financial side. Chris Bevilacqua, co-founder of sports media firm BHV, joins me now. Chris, you know, we're waiting for this big ticker tape parade in Manhattan for the Women's World Cup winners, but why has that parade failed to gain more corporate sponsors?
Well, listen, I think it's not often that this happens here in New York, right? And any parade typically happens, on very short notice. And so, most sponsors are allocating sponsor budgets along, a year and a half in advance. So it's not like they've got this pool of money sitting around for things that happen in, 48 hours notice. So I think there's a bit of that going on right now.
But weren't ads from corporate sponsorships during the actual match also low compared to what we've seen with men's matches?
Yeah, I think that's just the reality of the marketplace, right? The men's tournament, which everybody's comparing this to, is a much bigger financial and a much bigger revenue source for FIFA. And if you look at the consumption, right? I think I saw some of the stats that said there was in the Men's World Cup, the most recent, there was almost 1 billion viewers worldwide. And this World Cup will have something, on the order of under 100 million. So the size of the economic pie in terms of TV revenues and sponsorships and mainly tickets, I think they sold, I think the average World Cup for men's was over 50,000 tickets a game, and there's more games in the men's tournament. So there's just a lot more revenue in the pie for the men's side than there is for the women's. But I think the right way to look at it is if you look at the last Women's World Cup, they've tripled the number of sponsors and the sponsor revenue from the last World Cup, which I think is really meaningful progress.
It is. I'm glad you pointed it out, but I'm curious as to when women's sports catch up with men on the financial side.
Well, I think that's, listen, the Women's World Cup, in this case, we're talking about women's soccer and Women's World Cup. They've only been around for 20 or 25 years. The men's have been around for 80 or 90 years, right? If you look at, a good example would be, the WNBA, right? WNBA is coming up on 20 years, and the NBA, as the biggest brand in basketball, has been investing in that for 20 years. But obviously, they're nowhere near the economic power that the men's game has. And I think, it's going to take some time, and it's going to take a lot more investment. And like I said, they're in the early stages of that, but I think, as women's sports globally becomes more accepted and more like men's sports has, over generations, I think you'll see that'll grow over time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Do women's sports need more big personalities?
Personalities, I think that's really a function just sort of culturally. We see, we look at it here in the U.S., through a very U.S.-centric lens, and any kind of personality or brand that kind of cuts through a lot of the clutter, in terms of creating a profile, I think that that just again is going to be cultural and go market by market. But here in the U.S., it seems to be making a lot of progress, and I think in this case, the women on this team in particular will have have a real opportunity to get showcased in the coming years.
Chris Bevilacqua, thank you so much for your time.
All right, you're welcome.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler for The Street.